Let me give you two examples to clarify the relationship between tame and wicked. Now, see, these are high jump records across time between 1900 and 1996. The measurement is in inches. So between 1920 and 1952, the most popular technique is the Western roll, and you don't seem to be able to get beyond 80 inches using this technique. So if it's 1952 and you're looking to win the 1956 Olympic gold medal for the high jump, there is no point in you being very efficient at the Western roll. If you want to win it, stop doing the Western roll. There is no point in you being very good at visualizing the gold medal. If you want to win it, stop doing the Western roll. Now, many of us are struggling with the Western roll problem, which is how to get more out of less. There is no point at being efficient at the wrong task. So the trick is to work out what you're going to stop doing to enable you to do what you need to do. And the switch in tasks, that actually is a wicked problem. But the point is to worry about what we normally do when we face wicked problems. We tend to respond as if they're tame problems of efficiency, and we focus on a process. So I want to capture that way of thinking about leadership through this man, Michael Abrashoff, who ran this destroyer between 97 and 99. And he picks up the ship in 97. It's the worst performing ship in the Pacific Fleet on every criteria they measure: gunnery accuracy, readiness for combat, retention rate, promotion rate. He doesn't have a clue about how to fix any of the problems on the ship, but he has a process. That's to ask the crew. And the book is about how the crew fix the ship. I'll just give you one example. The crew have to wear something called standard issue foul weather jackets, which are big, uncomfortable jackets. They cost $150 each. There's no flotation device built into them. If you go over the side, you're going to drown quite quickly. The crew hate wearing these. They're complaining to him one day. He says, stop complaining and find some designers on board that can design something better and cheaper. And if you can do that, we'll get that made up and you can wear that instead. That's what they do. So the new jacket costs $90, not $150. As the name of the ship across the back has a built-in flotation device. Very comfortable. The crew love wearing it. But the first time they come back into San Diego Harbor, he gets a phone call from the senior officer in the harbor saying, your men have been spied wearing non-standard issue foul weather jackets. And he says, yeah, they're great, aren't they? And the senior officer says, no, they're not great, they're illegal. You will get them out of their illegal jackets, back into their legal jackets before you dock. Abrashoff refuses. At the end of a very long conversation, Abrashoff says, I'm now going to refuse a legitimate order so you can court-martial me on two grounds. One, I've just saved you half the clothing budget on this ship this year. And two, I've just improved morale by 100%. And on that basis, I'm actually happy for you to court-martial me. And the senior officer says, I'll think about that. Doesn't court-martial him, and then this ship wins the Spokane Trophy for the best prepared ship in the US Pacific Fleet. It's gone from the worst to the best in 2 years with him not knowing a single answer to any of the problems on the ship. But he has a process. Ask the crew. Fundamentally, my argument with leadership is really a relationship. It's not about individual possession of competences. It's a relationship between leaders and followers, however you want to define those. And it runs back into something that was talked about this morning. It's about permission giving. You have to give people permission to change their pattern of behavior. You have to encourage people to do things. There's no point in you going in front of a group and saying, okay, we're changing everything. In future, when you hear me say something stupid, I'd like you to raise your hand and say, I think that's stupid, boss, because you know that will never actually work. People will not trust you, especially if there's a long cultural history of people being guillotined once they abuse the boss. So what you have to be able to do is not just try to change it in terms of the words that you use, but actually demonstrate. And the demonstration is about how you have made a mistake as a leader, and it's okay to make a mistake. There's quite a nice example of an American newspaper editor who takes over a failing newspaper, and it's failing because of the massive, the huge blame culture problem that they have. And he gets everybody around him and says, okay, so a new boss, new change, new direction, new culture, we're getting rid of the blame culture, and now we're introducing what we would call a trust culture, just culture. And I want you to be able to bring forward all kinds of problems and to tell people when they're going wrong. It'll be absolute, nobody get punished for this, no punishment for mistakes honestly made, etc., etc., etc. Nothing happens. About 2 months later, the newspaper is still going down the pan, and then eventually the news editor is driving home and gets picked up by the police for speeding and rings up the deputy editor and says, I want you to put a picture of me on the front of the paper with a sign saying, editor caught speeding, apologizes, learns his lesson. And the deputy said, well, I'm not going to do that because A, it's embarrassing, and B, it's not newsworthy. And the editor says, yes, you are, because that's the only way I can think of to demonstrate to these people that it's okay to make a mistake as long as you've learned from it. And that's the trigger that allows people to think maybe he did mean what he was saying. So there's no point in you just looking and talking about how you're going to change things. You have to demonstrate this. You have to actually emulate what you're trying to do.